everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for the third event of IAB UK's Gaming Week. I am Hebe, the marketing manager here at the IAB, and I will be your host for today's event and have the absolute pleasure of introducing our amazing lineup. This week marks the second of our specialism weeks. We kicked off with all things e-commerce back in March, and this week is all about gaming, with 4 events, a research launch, and a Gaming Week special on our podcast. So to recap on what we've seen so far, this Monday kicked off with a session delving into understanding gamers, where we revealed the latest findings from our real living study, which delved into consumer behaviour, as well as a panel discussion with Global Web Index and Activision Blizzard Media, as well as sessions from Facebook and Anzu. Then yesterday, we saw Xaxis, Twitch, Frameplay, MindFuture, MoPub, and Venetus debate the topic of can gaming and advertising ever truly coexist? Now, if you didn't manage to tune into those events, all of the sessions are available via our website for IAB UK members to watch on demand. So these 2 events then lead us onto perfectly this creative workshop. We've got a jam-packed hour and a half with 4 of our members taking to the virtual stage, exploring unique and inventive examples of creativity in and around gaming. So we will be hearing from Bidstack, Adimo, RTB House, and Adverti, each taking to the floor for 20 minutes each for an interactive and immersive session. Now, to make the most out of the session, please be sure to use the chat to talk to one another and engage with any QR codes and polls shared by our speakers. In the interest of time, we won't be running a Q&A at the end of the session, but if you do have specific questions for any of our speakers, pop them in the Zoom Q&A function and we will ask them straight after their session has finished. Now, I'm sure you've had enough of me rambling on, so I'd like to give a big thank you to our Gaming Week sponsor, Bidstack, who are our first session of the day. They're going to be guiding you through an interactive look at how in-game advertising becomes reality. So if I could welcome to the floor Will Stewart, Alan Nye, and Yazin Debelia from Bidstack, Robert Karp from Codemasters, and Simon Jones from Spark Foundry. The next 20 minutes are yours, guys.
Thank you so much, Hebe, and hello, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well and you're watching me from somewhere sunny if possible. And if not, then I'll try and ramble through so that you can go and enjoy the sun. But essentially, I'm going to share my screen 1 second to get this up. So today, hopefully what you'll find by the end of the session is we will be able to show you how brands can basically effectively and in a scalable and beautiful way advertise within gaming environments. So to run through today, we've got a little bit of a short agenda. So I'll quickly kind of set the scene, and then after that, we'll talk about creativity and how you can fuel exciting creativity into in-game advertising. And we have our very own resident creative director from Bidstack, Will Stewart, and we're also joined by Rob from Codemasters. And then we will talk about how we can effectively deliver that at scale, both direct and programmatic. And we'll have Alan Nye, who is our senior product manager here at Bidstack. And then lastly, we'll talk about how in ways in which we can evaluate and ways to measure and what the future of in-game advertising looks like from a brand and agency perspective. And we have Simon Jones, who is managing partner at Spark Foundry, joining us as well. And at the end, if we have time, hopefully, we'll also take some questions. So let's set the scene, right? We've been talking about it for the past 2 days. So I'm going to mention it again on this 3rd day of Gaming Week. But this is essentially an image that I've just found on Google Images. It's not a specific game at all. When you Google metaverse, it's exactly what you will find. And if anyone is not familiar with what the metaverse is, it is a term that's basically been coined about this new collective virtual space where everyone is going to be interacting with millions of digital environments. And some people, this is some dystopian future world that we live in, but actually we are moving in that direction. If you think about it, the way that we have now transitioned into the way that we gamify our day-to-day living. So say, for example, the other day, I was actually doing a virtual spin class on an app called Zwift, competing with people from all over the world, but actually I was right in one place and I was looking at a screen and I was cycling around with some random people and it was great. And you can also use an app called Dressed, which is a fashion app, which you can basically try on clothes from the comfort of your home and then have it delivered to your house. And this is a space for everyone and it's growing, and brands are now looking at finding ways to establish their identity in this ever-growing metaverse. But the next stage is to push that boundary of creativity, and gaming environments are an art form and brands have every opportunity to enhance them whilst encapsulating this audience with this unparalleled level of engagement. I want to quickly touch on this because it's really important to understand that obviously with the real living research that IAB has done, they've already kind of laid the groundwork on what the typical gamer looks like. But much to our surprise, many of us gamers are not that stereotypical antisocial teenager that just kind of lives in his bedroom and eats junk food all day. In fact, gamers are of higher income earners and have a lower gender disparity. And now the console is the main center point of entertainment, competing with other media channels such as TV and even social media. But the one thing that we need to highlight is that gamers are hugely passionate about the games that they play, and will be very critical about the minor details that affect or enhance their gameplay. So therefore, it is our responsibility as an industry to make sure that we protect the games, we protect the gamers, and also the advertisers within them. If you see here, the way that we protect the games is that we ensure that we protect the creativity and hard work that has been put in producing these beautiful high definition games. In essence, they are a piece of art, and you can see these kind of 4 examples here, that the way that game developers have developed game maps to be identical to real life locations. So it's making it increasingly harder to distinguish between the real life and the virtual world. And this is an example for us. So games are a form of an art. So we have 2 examples here where brands have basically, we've put in ASIN, we've put in Boohoo Man, and we've done our best, our technology has done its best to basically seamlessly blend the advertising into natural spaces whilst upholding that creative integrity. And like I said before, gamers are passionate about their gaming experience, so we have to protect the gamers by ensuring that advertising fits seamlessly within the gameplay and doesn't disrupt the gaming experience. In some scenarios, brands have done this very well. In the midst of the pandemic, Warner Brothers, it decided to tease and play Tenet in full in Fortnite, and it made it one of the most successful film launches in 2020. And when Travis Scott played his concert in Fortnite, 28 million people attended in one night, in comparison to 700,000 people that would have attended over the course of a year in 56 tour stops. So we know gaming can draw in huge audiences, but that doesn't mean that brands should then go in and march in without caution. Everything that we do at Bidstack, our core principles make sure that we help advertisers to fit within the environment and create a positive experience with gamers, and therefore increase that brand affinity. There are more and more free-to-play games and more games that are being funded by in-game purchases and advertising. A few of my favorite examples is the capsule collection that was produced by Louis Vuitton in the League of Legends, and also Tommy Hilfiger that launched their full 2020 collection in Animal Crossing. And this powerful brand affinity is built when brands can offer value to their passion points. And these are just examples of luxury brands who typically you wouldn't think would be speaking to a typical gamer, but actually they're now synonymous with gaming audiences. So today, want to take 3 learnings to give you today. So we want to be able to educate you on how to create, how you can breathe creativity into in-game advertising, how you can then activate that, and how you can deliver that in-game advertising at scale, both programmatic and direct, and then what success looks like when it comes to in-game advertising. So without further ado, I want to introduce Will Stewart, our creative director at Bidstack, and also Rob Karp, our the development, not ours, I wish it was ours, a development director at Codemasters. So to kind of touch base on this, we're talking about obviously day in, day out, but particularly myself, I'm speaking with agencies, advertisers about relying on Bidstack to kind of advise on how to effectively craft and execute creative into gaming. Now, Will, I want to bring you into this first. One example, a real life example that we have is a major consumer packaged goods brand who is very interested in ways in which you can effectively add different creatives into different environments, different gaming environments. Could you walk us through like the considerations that the creative team at Bidstack take when working with our game developers on different types of ad placements?
Yeah. So it's not as simple as just making a good ad. It's not like you create something and you go, oh yeah, that's it, looks beautiful, I want to put it in games. You have to consider how to make it look good in the game, and that's kind of our responsibility alongside the game developers. So what we do is we analyze the games and we define the best solution based on the environment and the developers' needs. So the game itself, what they actually want, how they want to bring advertising to the game, because it's about making it seamless and making it real. So you can't just like lump these everywhere. So all of these considerations, what we do is we look at like how the game's played. So if it's fast paced, if it's got fast camera movement and there's like limited focal points, we'll advise to use a simpler creative. Now someone might think, oh, I don't want a simple creative in a game, but actually what you're doing is you're by looking good within a game, the people who play the game are going to be more likely to enjoy the advertising that's within it. So having that simple creative in those environments are better. But then you have a slower paced game. If you look at the football manager example here, there's an opportunity to share a message. This is quite a simple creative here. You can use like full video in this. You can, literally do whatever you want within an 8-second time frame. So these solutions are being identified specifically for each game, and that's what we do. We kind of just make sure it's at the best standard. Like we wouldn't advise, even in a first person shooter, to have a billboard with lots of small text, just because of the way that game is played. So what we do is advise you on ways to get brand exposure, and then advise you which games are the best to have messaging, like where will it actually be read. And one of the things that we did, what you can see on the screen now, is give you the opportunity to see how easy it is to put your logo within the gaming environment. So like this process is basically the same as how you could activate within all of Bidstack's games by uploading a single logo that we automatically kind of scale and then extend the color of to fit perfectly within all the environments. So that you can basically, with very little work, look good and have massive brand awareness within the gaming world. And obviously we offer, creative approvals to make sure that those things aren't just like sneaking into the game. Like it's really important for us to make sure that you don't go to the game with a creative that is just going to get rejected. So working with us ensures that you'll get the best possible, you'll get into the game in the most easy way. Yeah.
Amazing, thank you. Yeah, and it's great that you brought up the creative approval process, because that that kind of brings Rob into this conversation. Rob, great to have you. Thank you so much for joining us in this workshop. So, as I understand, obviously you're in charge of Dirt 5, and Will's touched on the creative approval element, and we understand the kind of the benefits of that from our side. But I just kind of want to get your initial reaction to having these creative controls in place and what it means for the game.
Sure. It's really important to us. The audience is most important. We want them to be engaged and enjoying the game. And the ads have got to fit in with the world and the environment and, what players are doing and be visible. So, in the Dirt 5 example, we have like 10 different locations around the globe. They're all tracks that are kind of either man-made in the game or loosely. And having advertising hoardings around and above the track in certain places helps add to the immersion of the game. And players use these often to pick up breaking points or determine racing lines, so they remember the location of an ad. And it makes it even more interesting when the ads are dynamic, because players feel it's more alive and fresh and they get to see new things. So it's important to have these ads that fit. age rating's an important thing to take into consideration, as well as the location and the theme, and messages that the company or the game is trying to give to the player, whether that's pro something like healthy living, or another type of message.
Yeah, perfect. Absolutely. There's one thing that I wanted to kind of touch on. Obviously, you talk about the banners and the realism and the locations within the game. One thing that we spoke about in our prep call was around how you think that in-game advertising is very similar to kind of TV and movie product placement. Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think it's slightly better than movie product placement. So I think product placement in movies and TV shows is a relatively big thing, and people recognize them. And if you think of Back to the Future or something like that, you can probably straight away think of the product placement in there. And I think the same thing can happen with games, but probably to a greater extent, because it's more immersive and interactive content. So people can recall those memories, those games, or those brands that they've interacted with together, that can really build a strong message.
Nice. And I've got one kind of final question on that. Just kind of thinking about obviously the realism and this being kind of better than TV and movie in terms of kind of product placement. What other opportunities beyond kind of trackside banners do you think will be integrated into racing games going forward?
So we already do branded liveries. So, and depending on how you race, maybe it's in cockpit cam, or maybe you like to see the whole car. There's an opportunity there for brands, logos, patterns, so on and so forward. We already have, real world cars in the game. If that's not advertising for a BMW 2 Series or whatever, that's exactly what it is. But I think things can go even further than that. You talked about the Louis Vuitton pack. There's no reason why, in racing, things like that couldn't happen with liveries, with player avatars, with driver uniforms, helmets.
Amazing. Yeah, it's definitely an exciting time. And I think that's a really good segue of how we can take this kind of this creative element and the opportunity within game, and how we can actually deliver that at scale. So thank you again, Rob and Will. I'm now going to move on to Alan to talk about the second part of our workshop, which is how to deliver in-game advertising at scale. I know that Alan, who's our senior product manager at BidStack, is super excited to geek out on this. Taking into consideration, obviously, we've got the creative approval as element in the technology and how we deliver this at scale. Could you how do we turn the beauty of what we do with in-game advertising into actual technology that's purposeful?
Sure. I think the important things to consider when you're trying to scale a new media channel such as in-game is creating that level of standardization. So when you are, from a media buyer's perspective, you don't want to be creating half a dozen different creators go across various games. You want to be able to traffic a seamless creative across as many games as possible. So what we've done, along with many other people in the industry, is try create the best standard as possible along with the IAB that allows advertisements to go through seamlessly and scalably. So things like converting or utilizing existing IAB standards like 728 by 90 or 300 by 250, where the brand provides the logo and the creative, and then through vendors such as ourselves, we can repurpose that and change the aspect ratio to fit within the gameplay, so that you're only trafficking your normal standardized IAB units, but all of them will be customized per game via the vendor.
Nice. Sounds great. And obviously standardization is one of those hot topics that you and I tend to talk about as automation folk. But what else can you tell us that's exciting in terms of development for in-game advertising? Obviously, you're a member of a number of working groups, so you have very much the frontline element and being there to talk about this at an industry level. So what's some of the secrets that you can tell our audience about today?
I'll try to keep it as I'll remove some of the secret stuff, but the IAB have been pivotal in terms of putting the in-game standardization working groups together across the UK and the US. There's a lot of interest from the buy side and the sell side to really create an industry that allows us to advertise seamlessly and to work with, well, adjust or work with the current programmatic stack that we have available. There's a lot of work in terms of how we measure, how we activate, how we standardize taxonomies, not just across particular games or particular devices, but across multiple devices, from mobile to console to anything else that runs games, really.
Great. And one final question: where do you see the future of in-game advertising?
It's not too different from CTV or audio. We're at the very early stages of bringing a new media channel to the market. So we're going to go through a similar journey to CTV and audio, I think, where once the standardization kicks in, once everyone is buying and measuring properly and being able to report back on the success of the campaigns, we'll see this grow and explode. It's probably going to be as big, if not bigger, than some of those new media channels.
Interesting. And to move on to our final speaker, we've got Simon Jones, Managing Partner at Spark Foundry, and also leading the team over at Publicis Play. So it's an absolute pleasure to have you as our second guest today. Obviously, Publicis Play and Bidstack have been already working on a number of opportunities. And I know that the title of this is How to Measure Success of In-Game Advertising. Before we kind of get and funnel down to that and what success looks like, how have you been educating your clients, and what considerations should clients take when they're choosing gaming as a route to market in the current landscape?
Well, I think that throughout the history of gaming, there's always been sort of inflection points that have generally been tech-driven, and we've seen hardware, quicker processors, mobile evolution, broadband speeds, whatever it is. There's always been a kind of tipping point, and I think 2020 was a perfect example of that. We had the new consoles coming out, 5G, but obviously the unique factor being the pandemic, which offered people more time to engage, and the result has been bigger audiences. And if we're really saying to clients that if you don't have a gaming strategy and you're at risk of being left behind, and what we're trying to educate planners and our client teams on is that we see gaming as a legitimate media channel now. If however you want to sort of slice and dice it, it really stacks up in terms of audience, in terms of time spent, and the manner in which it's consumed as well. It makes it a very compelling offering for clients because people are so engaged when they're playing. So if you think about in-game, I've heard people just now comparing it to a number of different media. For me, digital out of home is a real easy comparison to make, but I think it really stands up favorably versus that particular medium. There's a general lack of confidence for obvious reasons in out of home over the last sort of 12 to 18 months. You're certainly seeing in London that you still haven't got the numbers in the centre of town. So the benefits of measurement and the accountability that in-game offers certainly supersede anything that out of home can offer. So I think it's a really compelling place for clients to be.
Absolutely. And how do you see gaming evolving in the next kind of few years, particularly from an agency perspective?
I think it'll probably be more about deeper brand experiences within the kind of the ecosystem or the metaverse that you referenced earlier. I think gaming is so embedded in popular culture now. You spoke about Travis Scott and Tenet. You've also got the way that politicians like AOC in the States used it for the US election. It's the way that fashion are using Roblox at the moment. It's relevant for so many brands, but really underutilized. So I think integrated branded experiences for the consumer that are really immersive, probably fully transactional as well, maybe through various kind of new digital currencies that don't even exist yet. They're going to create a multitude of new revenue streams for clients. And I think that once clients dip their toes in the water, they're going to evolve their gaming strategy really, really rapidly.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Simon. I'm conscious of time. I don't even think we have any time for any questions. So if anyone has any, then please obviously feel free to reach out to any of us on this panel. But thank you for listening today. I hope obviously we've managed to showcase that in-game advertising is easily executable. It's also measurable in terms of being aligned with, you know, the standard digital media channels. And obviously what we do at BizStack is help brands to be integrated seamlessly into beautiful gaming environments. So yeah, thank you everyone for listening today. And thank you very much to our guests joining our workshop.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much, guys. What a fantastic way to kick off the creative workshop. So big thank you. So next up, I'm going to hand the mic over to Adimo, who are going to deep dive into mobile games campaign they ran with breast cancer charity Walk the Walk. The session looks at the potential of in-game advertising for both brand awareness and fundraising campaigns. So if I could welcome up Nina Barrow, CEO and founder of Walk the Walk, Kristen Rivers, founder and CEO of Adimo, and Sarah Robson, head of sales at On Device Research. So over to you guys.
Hi there. Thank you very much, Phoebe, for the great intro. Let me get our screen shared here. And great. So also thank you to BizStack. I think the focus on scalability and standardization and measurement is something that we think about a lot at Adimo as well regarding in-game play. You know, at Adimo, we're focused 100% on mobile in-game advertising. We fundamentally believe that mobile is the absolute best medium for connecting the cord cutters, the cord nevers, to brands that are wanting to reach out to them. And mobile's great. It's a huge audience. It's 4 billion smartphones globally. Mobile gaming enthusiasts, as we saw earlier, it's a very democratized audience. It's 50% female, more or less, and approximately 50% over the age of 30. So it's a great diversity of audiences in mobile gaming. And that diversity is driven within mobile to a large degree by the diversity of game genres. You know, leading with hyper casual and all the different types of hyper casual games that are available. So we think the key to creating brand affinities within gaming experiences is really focusing on that player, focusing on the player experience, and maintaining that gaming immersion. Players are happy when they're in a game, when they're doing what the game is about, when they're solving puzzles, when they're fighting the boss at the boss level. So the non-interruptive nature of in-game advertising is really powerful within this within the concept of tapping into this emotional investment of gamers and creating these positive emotional experiences. In fact, a survey that we did alongside Pocket Gamer showed that 70% of gamers felt that in-game advertising, in-gameplay advertising, was a better and smoother experience for advertising than the traditional banner ads or interstitial ads. So this kind of click-free nature of the games, along with the positive emotions that gamers are having while they're watching these ads, is ideal for brand awareness campaigns. You know, we think that one of the challenges that we have, of course, as a new media channel is creating a standardized form of measurement of this channel. So IAB have been great on this. We co-chair the IAB in-game advertising measurement committee because we feel this is very important. The focus currently, and quite rightly, is on viewability standards, so that we can have some sort of standardization both within the in-game advertising industry for viewability, but also something that's comparable to other methods of buying digital advertising. Longer term, we think about things within AdMO, other ways of measuring these campaigns, where that maybe is brand interaction minutes, or even, as we kind of go a little bit further out, thinking about, how we measure the impact and of course, demonstrate the effectiveness of these campaigns. So with that in mind, I am really pleased to introduce Nina Barrow from leading cancer charity, breast cancer charity, Walk the Walk. And she's gonna talk about the campaign goals and the research that we did alongside our partners on device research. Now, before I do that, let me show you a short video that shows what some of the campaign creatives look like within various mobile games. Great. So, Nina, are you there? Can I please introduce you here?
Okay, I'm here. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Maybe as a start, can you tell us a little bit about Walk the Walk, what your marketing goals are, and why you decided to trial in-game advertising?
Well, I think the first thing to say is Walk the Walk is a grant-making charity. We have three sort of main objectives. One is to support the advancement of research into breast cancer. One is very much to support and help to fund care for those that are living with cancer as we speak, and particularly with integrated care, which is sort of all the care that goes around a patient when they're going on their journey through cancer. And the third is very much about prevention, and this has become more and more prolific as more research comes out, because it's becoming evident that lifestyle, nutrition, all our choices have a big impact on our health. And obviously there's a very big message that every individual has that potential for well-being, so I think, the difficulty for us, or the difficulty we face, and certainly over the last 15 months, has been very much, how do you reach those different audiences? How do you, something like prevention affects everybody. Something like the advancement into secondary breast cancer is maybe much more focused. And I think that one of the positives that has come out of the last year is that I think all charities have had to push boundaries in terms of what they look at. How do they continue functioning? Some may be easier than others. For us, we usually raise our money in large capacity events, so it came to an absolute standstill, and we had to really search hard to start finding new ways of reaching our audience and reaching people.
That's great, thank you. When you were running this campaign, did you run the in-game advertising campaign alongside any other campaigns at the same time? And what was your thinking on that, either to do it or not to do it?
Yeah, I think obviously this is really, really new to me. I'm the absolute newbie to all of this, and it's exciting, and I'm still discovering. So yes, we did. We were very fortunate to secure a billboard campaign. We also run a social media program, and I think it felt quite important for us to sort of be able to utilize all of the assets that we possibly could to sort of really endorse the message that we wanted to get out there.
Yeah, no, and you mentioned this is new. It's a new industry. It's new for all of us. It continues to be a great learning experience, I think, for everybody. So when you're looking at the creatives, I guess, kind of diving into that a little bit more, were you focusing on creatives that you had used elsewhere, maybe in digital out of home, or did you create any new creative specific to the mobile experience?
We utilised the creatives that we were using, and I think that was quite important for us because I think when you have a message out there, you want that constant recognition, that repeat appearance, and I don't think that, you know, because this was so new, whether or not, you know, going forward it should be treated differently, I don't know, that remains to be seen. But I think for us it was very important to really have a strong message and to retain that across all the different mediums we were using.
Can you talk a little bit about brand safety and how Walk the Walk think about your own brand and how it's used within these campaigns and where it's used?
Yeah, I would be very honest here. But the minute that we sort of looked into this, the flags came up in terms of, wow, where is this going to be shown? Is it going to be in an inappropriate place? You know, we are very, very protective of our marks, of our messaging. We have a very strong ethos, and I think that ensuring that, you know, our messages were translated into the game was vitally important. You know, I think that initially, probably like many people, I had this sort of image that we were going to be putting our stuff out, and, you know, I think somebody said earlier, to the sort of, you know, teenager in the bedroom that absolutely was not going to be interested in this, and that it would actually end up in somewhere that was totally alien, and something that Walk the Walk really didn't want. So brand safety was paramount. I think also there was an unknown in terms of who our target audience were, and whether it would work. And I think simplicity of message was also really key for us. You know, we weren't quite sure how effective it would be, so, you know, we sort of wanted to keep it to sort of one simple message, really. And so yeah, I think ethical values are really paramount especially when you're entering a world that you don't really know. So that was top of the list.
Well, thank you, Nina. Thank you, and thank you to you and your team for joining us today. And of course, a great charity, and we would also ask that everybody on the call today look up Walk the Walk and donate money there as well. So while we're switching over to the next speaker, to Sarah, Hebe, can you bring up the poll? We'd like to ask audience a question here. If you go ahead and just answer the poll, and then we'll get the results here in just a moment. So Hebe, are we able to get the results now? There we go. So has the in-game has the pandemic accelerated you or your clients' look at in-game advertising? Seems like a fairly overwhelming yes, and it makes sense. You know, as we've seen, there's a lot more people at home playing games now than there were before, and there's a lot more focus on the gaming experience. So I guess the last part of this, of course, now is measuring the effectiveness. Is there a positive impact of these in-game advertising campaigns? So with that, I'd like to introduce Sarah Robson from our partner On Device Research, who will talk a little bit about the results of this campaign.
Cool, thank you. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so yes, I'd like to take you through a study we did to see if the actual campaign changed perceptions of Walk the Walk. So the way this works on device, what we do is we measure uplifts between a control group and an exposed group. So we were able to measure exposure to the ad in game, and then we matched results from a questionnaire that we had for brand lift metrics against a control group. when we run the studies, we make sure that the control group matches the exposed group. So we made sure that the gender mix was the same as those exposed. We made sure that it had equal number of people who already donate to charities, already fundraise, have affinity with cancer charities, and also their opinions of in-game advertising. So we made sure that we had equal numbers of people who like it or hate it in both groups. So the only difference when we look at the uplifts is the fact that someone's been exposed to the advertising in-game and the other person hasn't. So let's take you through the key findings. So within our studies, we asked questions through the brand funnel from awareness all the way through to likelihood to donate in this case. So at a total campaign level, this campaign absolutely worked in terms of likelihood of people to donate to Walk the Walk. You'll see there on average, so we have benchmarks we always compare things against. So on average, we'd normally see a delta, a 2.6% uplift between the control and the exposed group. For the total campaign here, we saw a 12 percentage point uplift, and that little arrow just indicates that it's significant. So it's a significant uplift. We test everything at 95% significance level. So the campaign has absolutely worked in driving people to likely to donate to the charity. But then we delve a bit deeper and we look to see of all those who say they regularly donate. So this is obviously a core audience for Walk the Walk, people who already like to donate to charities. And actually that's worked across the funnel from awareness all the way through to donating there. And then again, when we look at people who fundraise, so people who say they take part in fundraising events, again, an audience that's probably more akin to giving to the charity. And again, we've seen a positive uplift there of 10 percentage points. So the campaign has worked across the funnel there. And then the other aspect we look at is actually the creative element of it. So we asked people how they felt about the creative, why they felt it. Now, interestingly, in terms of a positive emotion, it's fairly muted there. The reason we think it's fairly muted compared to our norm is because obviously it's quite a strong subject matter. It's all about obviously men getting breast cancer too and getting cancer too. So we didn't expect particularly a positive reaction there. When we ask the question, we give them 5 positive things, 5 negative and 1 neutral, and this is netting out of there. Although you do see a slightly stronger takeout there for people who donate to charities. But the call to action we're seeing is very positive here. So this is when we ask people what they're going to do after they've been exposed, and we gave them things like look up for more information, search the website, likely to donate, tell their friends about it, and so on. So we're seeing uplifts there. So the campaign has definitely, that ad in-game has definitely changed perceptions and the likelihood for people to donate and look for more information about the charity. Going a bit deeper, when we look at the increase in awareness, because I know that was one of the key KPIs for Walk the Walk, you'll see there, overall, we saw a slight uplift, but actually when we look it down by certain audiences, for the male audience, we saw a +8 percentage point uplift. So this campaign is really resonating with the male audience. And again, the focus was on men getting cancer too, so that obviously resonated really well. And in the younger audience, the 18 to 34s, and again in that core audience of people who are likely to donate to charity. So again, we saw awareness increase as well as likelihood to donate. And then moving on to the likelihood to donate, we're seeing a similar pattern here. It significantly increased amongst the male audience, a +24 percentage point increase. That's one of our best results actually against our norms there. And the 18 to 34s. But interestingly, it also worked in the older audience. And I think we were saying earlier, Christian was saying earlier about how, you know, mobile gaming does attract all age groups, and it's working with both there. And across the social economic groups, we're seeing uplifts in both the ABC ones and the C2DEs. So overall, a very successful campaign. Thank you.
That's great. Sarah, thank you so much for that. Absolutely fascinating insights and data points for any kind of call to action driven campaign on mobile gaming. So thank you very much, Sarah, for those insights. Also, just want to say thank you again to Nina for joining us. And I also need to give a quick shout out to Steph and Tim from IAB's research team, who have been champions for this type of studies as well. So thank you to them. We will have a full case study available, I think, later this month. So happy to send it to anybody on this call today. We'd love to share that information with you. And we look forward to working with anybody that would like to do in-game advertising campaigns. We think this is an exciting new channel. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kristen, Sarah, and Nina. What a brilliant session and a fantastic example of how in-game advertising can work hand in hand with fundraising campaigns. So next up, we've got RTB House taking you through how deep learning is revolutionizing the gaming space by enabling their clients to drive unparalleled experience and performance with the most exhilarating creatives. So if I could welcome up Priyanka Jawar and Dan Holmes from RTB House, the next 20 minutes is all yours, guys.
Thanks, AB, for the introduction. I'm just going to quickly share my screen. Can you confirm you can see my screen?
Yeah, it's working perfectly.
Perfect. Hi, everyone. I'm Priyanka, and I have Dan with me. We are from RTB House. A little bit about ourselves. We work with numerous game publishers across the globe and help them deliver value from their audience. We like to think we have really transparent relationship with our clients, and we commonly talk to them about their challenges and objectives, such as inactivity window, average revenue per paying user, and re-engagement, which in turn helps us influence and build media strategies and creatives to suit. Insight that we will share with you today. For those who don't know RTB House, we are a global programmatic display company working with clients across all verticals, leveraging the most advanced AI, deep learning to deliver outcomes for our clients. So before we move into creatives, we first need to dig into deep learning. As mentioned before, it is the most advanced AI available, and it is most commonly being used in self-driving cars. So what's the difference between its predecessors? This tech can actually think for itself. Whereas standard AI has certain restrictions, deep learning does not. It learns rules, patterns on its own without any programming and improves constantly. So I know this webinar is about creatives, and I really do not want to bore you with the technical details, but it is really important we understand the difference between machine learning and deep learning. AI tech is measured in flops, which is floating operation points per second. Machine learning operates at 80 flops, whereas deep learning, it operates at 200,000 flops. That's a huge difference. I know the question here is, how does this all relate to creatives? Well, this is actually the processing power that determines the value of a user and what type of content or creative to show to that user in order to drive engagement. Deep learning, albeit it is not commonly known, is actually being used by some of the top publishers in the gaming industry like King and Zynga to power their gameplay and personalization. So let us look at how King is using deep learning. King is using deep learning to accelerate testing for high quality gameplay. The demands of the players is paramount, and the capability to test their levels within the games is critical for the development. Great games need to deliver great quality play. King is using deep learning to massively accelerate their testing of levels to keep their high quality playing experience. On the other hand, Zynga is using deep learning for the right personalization experience. Zynga has seen an explosion in its gaming audiences. Players are continuously playing games, and it's really hard to keep up with the pace. Their wish list is to provide personalized experience to each and every player, but it's really hard because they have so much data to crunch. Zynga is using deep learning to be able to understand their gamers at scale and to ensure they're offering the right playing experience. So the question here is, while the top publishers like King and Zynga are using deep learning to power gameplay and for personalization, why aren't we actually leveraging deep learning in your marketing? So at RTB House, we do use deep learning in our solutions, and there are 3 principles that it delivers on for optimal creatives. If you're still with us, it's fantastic, because this is where we will start showing you the exciting and the colorful images of our creatives. And this is where I will hand over to Dan, who will walk you through the 3 principles. Thank you so much.
Thank you, PJ. Sorry, guys, let me just start sharing my screen here. Fantastic. So thanks a lot. So what do we think of the 3 areas for thought? Well, firstly, rewards matter. Secondly, creatives without limits. And thirdly, we're all players. I'll give you a few seconds here to scan this QR code. It'll take you through to a web page where there's some more facts, figures, and a few more examples of our creatives that you can take a look at in your own time. Now, it may seem obvious, but rewards really do matter. The top reason for UK and US players, both new and existing, to spend more in games is to make that game more exciting again. Now, in fact, we know that 1 in 3 players has actually spent on in-game purchases. And actually, this is what we worked with on Mystery Tag and their game, Harvest Land. So as I say, we know that 45% of users return. And this is why when we work with gaming titles, we're keen to understand what rewards matter to all of their players, and then how we can surface these up within creatives. With Mystery Tag, we understood that their priorities were inactive users, just as usual. And so these were the guys we targeted. We set up varying segments specifically for these gamers. We then understood how they interacted with the game at a localized level, and used highly personalized creative triggers to drive up 339% ROAS. So in this case, crystals matter. And just like in that case, crystals matter, the rewards can vary. No, whatever it may be, let's not have any limitations on your campaign. Let's do whatever it takes to make your game exciting again. And on that note, we can move away from rewards and we can expand on using all the assets available to deliver great creatives. So let's not limit the creatives, like I said before. Let's use more of them to actually cover as many reasons as possible for players to re-engage with your games. I mean, you guys are incredibly lucky. In gaming, more than any other vertical, you have a huge amount of varying content and a constant flow of new content to use within your banners. We see this working really well when using dedicated video ads like these ones and dynamic banners that I've got on the next slides. Now, the content can include video, gameplay video, rewards like gems and crystals we spoke about, free spins, new items, increased XP, special events, new levels, characters, character abilities. I can go on and I can go on about the content. And even if you're part of the same group, you can share new games and cross-market to your existing users. You literally have thousands of different assets to use for each game. And these individual assets will be relevant to your individual users. So let's prep banners for all of them. Give your technology the option to combine the most likely banner and the most likely content to engage with every one of these gamers, depending on what they want and even what mood they're in. And yes, some of you would have been familiar with the term sadvertising. No, we can actually tell what mood the user is in based on their signals. In the UK, relieving stress is the key reason people play games. Other reasons include the likes of just passing time or the feeling of accomplishment. And 45% of players who have deleted an app will reinstall if given an incentive. So play with people's emotions. I'm not sure why there isn't an example here, but we use things like sad dragons and sad characters that smile when interacted with. Why are you not playing with us? Come and play again. Make me happy, play again. And this kind of stuff really does work. So use all the tools that you have as a player, all the tools you have to get users playing, and more importantly, playing. And lastly, from me, we're all players. I can guarantee that everyone on this call is a player. I've personally lost count of the amount of times I've rage quitted and deleted Clash of Clans only to reinstall days, or even hours later. The pace of change of who's gaming, when they're playing, and how long they're playing for is incredible. If we look at the top games, we can see that they have a 45% higher 7-day retention rate than the industry average. And those that have actually been listening to this webinar would have noticed the number 45 pop up a few times so far. It's purely coincidence. But anyway, look, the top games retain their community through understanding preferences and building creatives tailored specifically to those. I've added the QR code again here, just in case you missed it earlier. And thank you for listening to us so far. If you want to have a chat about anything, feel free to reach out to Priyanka or myself in the future by any means. And lastly, to summarize, as the data around us is changing and we struggle to keep up with the pace, let's use the most powerful technology available, deep learning artificial intelligence, to deliver the best quality content and experiences like King, and to understand how to reach and interact with our gamers like Zynga to keep them engaged and coming back for more. I'll open up for questions if there is any, Hebe.
Thank you so much, guys. That was a fantastic session. I feel like you crammed in a lot during that time, so thank you so much. I don't think we've got any questions at the moment, but as I said, if we do get any questions in, pop them in the Q&A function and these guys can totally take those questions later on. But thank you again, guys. So next up for our fourth and final session, I am going to welcome up Nicola Halpin, Senior Director of Sales at Adverti. Hi, Nicola.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly. The floor is all yours.
Perfect. I'm just going to share my screen. You see that okay?
Yeah, if you just hit into presenter mode, it will be perfect.
Perfect.
Brilliant. Thank you, Nicola.
Cool. Hi, everyone. It's been really good to listen to all the other chats as well and to introduce who Adverti is now. So I'm Nikki Halpin. I'm Senior Director of Sales at Adverti, based in London. Just so you know who Adverti are, we're a Stockholm-based tech company, and we offer in-game advertising which enables brands to reach mobile gamers non-intrusively within the 3D environment of a mobile game, which we've seen previously, and it's the same sort of principle, which is non-intrusive within the mobile environment, and immersive experience without disturbing gameplay. So today I'm just going to talk about what we all touched on and everyone this week, how big gaming is. There's also a new 2020 global mobile marketing report from Newzoo. And instead of boring with all the stats, there's a handy QR code, so get your phone out ready to scan that. That was released last year, end of last year, with all the mobile stats to help with, to help with your clients and pitching the mobile space with gaming. And then there's an internal density data labs case study that we did for our brand uplift. And also, because it's a creative workshop, going to take you through what currently is available that's on our platform, what's new and what's coming to the future, because the tech is going so fast. So look, as we've just been talking about and everyone's been saying, it's pretty much, gaming is a now. It's not just a now, it's been the biggest vertical for the last 8-9 years. Here is just some cherry-picked quotes that we have in industry from all over the industry regarding how big it is, so advertisers can't ignore it anymore. So as we've all discussed that in terms of COVID, we saw Adverti that our traffic actually went up about 35%. But interestingly, with lockdown restrictions easing, we didn't see a massive drop. We've actually seen like the traffic actually plateaued, which means if someone was playing Candy Crush, for instance, they've really enjoyed being in the game experience and enjoying playing games all day because they had more time. They've actually jumped onto hyper casual games. So we've actually kept more gamers into this space, even with lockdown restrictions easing. So there's obviously over 3 million billion gamers growing worldwide. It's untapped still for brands to really, get in front of these gamers. It's around 78% the same reach as social, but only 5% of ad spend goes into the gaming environment. So there's a huge disconnect still. So it's really amazing for, to really pump this out all the time that there is availability to actually get in front of these people. As you can, and I'll go through the Dentsu data labs, these ads are well received for our brand uplift study. And as we mentioned previously, in terms of audiences, the older, the decision makers, and it's a 50-50 split between male and female, which is really exciting to hit more females. Again, we've all mentioned it's not gone are the days of spotty teenagers playing games. It really is now a worldwide amazing platform to go in and get your brand out there. The tech is also getting so more advanced. We've got most popular console games are going into mobile apps. So with the likes of 3G, everything's 5G, everything's getting so sophisticated. in terms of tech, which is much more room for creative freedom, which again, I'm going to go through a video that Calais, who normally would pitch this to a publisher, will show you how our tech and ads are implemented with our SDK in a game. As I said, don't take my word for it. Please scan the QR code for the new Newzoo report. This, again, I told you, was released last year. It's got some really interesting stats about mobile phone usage. This is going to be going up 1 billion by 2023 to 4.1 billion. By 2023 as well, global mobile game revenue is set to cross the 100 billion line, reaching 102.8 billion, which is absolutely huge. So there's much more information in there, but again, I won't go through the stats and send everyone to sleep. But yeah, please take your phone out and scan that when you can. So what is available at the moment? So we have what we call advertiser in-play ads. So this is basically pretty much mirrors the home experience within the game. They're completely native, completely immersive, non-intrusive, and most importantly, can't be turned off by ad blockers. So it's a really nice experience to have. It's really for brand awareness, but programmatically run, so you can get your message completely to the right user through their phone device in real time. And we've got an array of verticals and games that we can actually target these ads to. And on the right-hand side, we've got a brand new seamless in-menu clickable ad, and this is going to be a first of its kind, which actually I'll go through in more detail. Again, it's going to be a first of a clickable ad unit to not disturb gameplay, but you can actually click through to an offer or purchase, but I'll take you through that later. I've got some still shots here of some of the games that we run, but also just to give you an idea of the clients that we can go across, you know, everything from new launch of Subway subs to, you know, really brand heavy Duracell, but then game on games, we launch a lot of new game launches because that works really well with the audience. The new PlayStation ads there as well. But what we find as well is that we've got a very much versatile game list of like hyper casual games are seen by, you know, all different audiences. So we have at the moment we have the Coldplay ads run, which was a really amazing campaign that we run recently, and again we've got this global reach, so these are all different countries as well, plus we've got the likes at the top of like pasta that will be targeted towards mums. What we find is with the automotive actual vertical is they've really taken advantage of this space, and this really goes to show that, you know, to show brands that it's not just being played by children. You know, kids can't buy cars, and especially, you know, new expensive. So a lot of the ads we're running are in the automotive vertical. So, you know, that's the household mum buying a new car for the family. That's you know, the dad of the CEO, you know, buying a swish new car. And so that's to show you how well it's really being received within the market in terms of the older demographic. So yeah, just to give your brands sure that it's not just kids, it's not just sweets and fast foods that are in these ads. It really is going to be, it is really for older and people with decision makers and more money. So this is a example which will look like on your phone if you were actually because obviously there is stills, you're going to look at your ad. So this is what we submitted for the Drum Awards this year. This is what we ran for Call of Duty, Cold War, which ran through OMD Sweden. And this is such an amazing example of a first-person shooter game within a first-person shooter game. So Critical Ops is one of our first-person shooter games. It's really clean, it's not clunky, and the client really wanted to actually, you know, hit the right audience and showcase that we were they're having a new launch. And they were so happy with the results. And you know what, they took a risk because it was lockdown, and where brands were really nervous about putting their money in somewhere new, they really took, you know, the risk of saying, you know what, we're going to try this vertical, and they were really pleased with the results. So again, it's no interruptions. You can see the ad really, really clearly and close up and walk up to it. And that's really important to show the clients what these look like live. Again, it's all programmatic, and you can run these all different creatives and all through the different levels of the games. As I touched on earlier, we had our own brand uplift study, which we did with Density Data Labs. And it's just so important to show brands and clients that, you know, there is minimal risk when it comes to, you know, putting your money into this space. You know, they've got to trust that this is really the now and it is working. You know, when programmatic first came out, or any new ad platform, people are nervous about putting their money into something new. And obviously with COVID and different budget cuts and so forth, we totally understand that. But it's such a, you know, with the sort of studies that we can do and these kind of, you know, these results we can show clients, you can see that ad awareness was up nearly 85%, and brand recall nearly 80% of the group of 301 participants. But the best thing is to show that actually 50% of these guys loved in-play over traditional web banners. So that's to show you how much they really enjoyed the adverts when they're playing and being exposed to these kind of ads. And that's the most important for your brand, to understand that they are, you know, well received and not disturbing the gameplay, and gamers love it, and also the brand is, you know, safe and you can see the ads really clearly. There's also some really nice quotes in there as well. So obviously being a little bit different in terms of a clickable ad unit banner, how are they kind of, you know, how are we sort of looking at the end metrics of this? What are we looking at? You know, there's no click-through on these in-play, so obviously we've got to look at it slightly different, and it's kind of like, you know, having your mind kind of look at the fact that it's, you know, a massive viewability and time spent in game, and also a really cool actual ad placement. But as you can see here, we did a case study, it's a sort of snapshot of what a report might look like for a client, and this is for a Unilever Nor campaign that we run, and it looks like we've got, you know, 350,000 unique users we reached every day. I mean, that's a hell of a lot of people. And in terms of seconds in view, 6.6, you know, that's really strong compared to other digital channels that you might be using, like a fraction of a number if it was on a social, for instance. But what really sticks out is basically the cost per minute is absolute tuppence. So, you know, to reach that many people with that kind of spend is really quite amazing, and it's something that you can't ignore, and to reach that many people in such a cool way. What's really on the forefront and what's really important, and we've touched on this as well, is the technology. And Adverty really pride themselves on being the forefront of having patented technology, which in terms of we call it a brain impression. So what we've done, we've got the tech that actually has looked at the brain perception and the eye when you're looking at an ad in the game, and we wrap this around, which Kayla will talk about later, before we launch any ad campaign, to make sure that it's massively in view and you can see the advert in any gameplay. So yeah, we were, you know, we basically painted this technology. It's make sure that we can actually see the ads. But the best thing about it for you guys is to understand, if anyone's, you know, paying for these ad impressions, is that you only get charged for the ads that are seen. And that's what gives you reassurance that we've wrapped this technology around the ad in the game, and you only get charged for what actually was seen. So it's, you know, it's really beneficial for brands and advertisers to know that as well. So just tapping on to the new ad unit, we just literally launched this. So we're so excited that we've actually finally got a seamless, non-intrusive ad unit within in the mobile gaming. So again, we don't want to have any sort of pop-ups or disruption to the gamer. That publishers wouldn't be happy if we had that as well. So every game pretty much has a menu, which where you can change a race car, get some currency, get a new gun, and basically this will give you an opportunity to have a clickable ad unit. At the moment, this is showing a 300 by 250 ad unit, but we can actually, you know, if that truck was at the side, we can have it on the truck, or every menu is different, so we can have it looking really cool in a different shape and size. And basically it would give you the opportunity for the gamer to actually take up the offer. Now we can have it rewarded or non-rewarded, so it can be a case of, you know, earn some extra, you know, in-game currency, therefore you can watch, you know, this ad, or, you know, have a look at this video or latest film release, or we can just simply, they can leave the game. But it's again non-intrusively, so we're not going to make sure that they're leaving the game. They will actually have a choice. But yeah, it's one of a kind, and we're just rolling that now, so we're very excited about that. So as I mentioned, Kayla is our head of client services in Adverty, and he's got a really cool video that I wanted to share with you guys, which shows how we implement our SDK. So this is normally shown to the publisher, and then it shows you how we wrap our tech around and the brain impression, so your ad is viewed. And it's just a really nice, and just to give you an idea of the future in terms of the creatives of how we can get, you know, future of anything can be wrapped around, so we can have logos on, you know, certain things that we can throw around the game, or we can have like Coke cans flying and trainers, you know, going somewhere. So this is the future, and we want to have that immersive gaming experience that, you know, and interactive with the brand within the mobile game, and this is what we can now do. So it's really exciting. Just play the video.
So I have just imported the latest Adverty SDK into my project, and I'm going to show you how you place an ad unit. So go to Adverty, Prefabs, select the game unit and drag and drop it to the scene. Next thing I'm going to do is check the Snap to Surface check button and click where I would like to place it. For this particular unit, I would like it to be bent, so I'm creating a new mesh and setting the size to fit where I would like to place it. Next thing, I'm gonna press the bend checkbox, and I'm gonna set it to convex and x-axis, as that fits where I would like to place it. I will drag the slider to set the radius of the unit that I would like. And to more easily place it where I want, I go above to just fine-tune the placement. And that is how easy it is to place an ad unit in your game with the Adverty SDK. And next thing, we're gonna test if this is a viewable placement, which is something you should do. So I'll go to Adverty Debug, and I'm adding ImpWiz component, as we call it, to all my units. Then the unit will tint green when the SDK has detected a view. Next thing, I'm gonna go to Adverty Settings and paste in my API key. I'm also gonna check the sandbox mode, as this is not a live game. So now let's see how the ImpWiz component looks in the game. So we have one placement there, and it's tinting green. And the other one, thank you for your attention.
Cool, so that's it from me. Whoops.
So,
and if you've got any questions at the end, please let me know. But yeah, it's really exciting stuff coming up, and we can do some amazing stuff for your brands. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much, Nikki. That was a fantastic session, a perfect way to round up the workshop. We have actually got one question in for you, which is, what has been your favourite campaign that you have recently ran?
Oh, I think we just ran. I just showed it a screen grab of it, but we just had Coldplay run, and it was on all the different ad units, and we've got so many new games on board as well, so we could have it in all different areas across our whole network. It was really, really cool. So yeah, that's at the moment one of the favourites that was just recently run. So yeah, I think that at the moment.
No, it sounds amazing. Thank you so much. And if anyone has got any other questions for any of the speakers, please do pop them in the Q&A now. But I don't think we've had any questions in. So I think that probably brings us to a close for the workshop. So just wanted to say a huge, huge thank you to Bidstack, Adimo, RTB House and Adverty, and also just another shout out to our Gaming Week sponsor, Bidstack. So as it says on the screen in front of all of you, this week's events will be available on our website within 24 hours of the event and available for all IAB UK members to watch on demand. Now, don't forget, we've got the Gaming Week special on our podcast with AdMix tomorrow, and our final Gaming Week event, Gaming Together, with Verizon, Pringles, Special Effect and Xbox, which is 12 till 1 p.m. on Friday. So thank you again to all of our fantastic speakers. If you have got any questions for the speakers, please do drop us an email at events@iabuk.com and we can pass those on to the relevant speakers. But thank you again for listening. Go and enjoy the sunshine and look forward to seeing you all at the event on Friday. Thanks so much, everyone.